Welcome back to Outside Views, and today we need to talk about the political equivalent of reliving a bad debt: cash payments to Brussels. The new effort by the UK government to execute a Brexit reset with the European Union to round the harder edges of the disastrous deal you ended up with is already being dodged by the oldest, most infuriating row of them all: money. And my strong personal view is that this cash squabble is not just an annoying bureaucratic hurdle, it's the unavoidable, necessary price tag for the monumental policy mistake that was Brexit. You don't get to walk away from the table, light the bridge on fire, and then expect a free pass back into the warmth when you realize your house is freezing. The EU is absolutely right to demand that the UK pays its way, because you cannot enjoy the benefits of proximity without the financial responsibilities of partnership. 6 months ago, sorry, but that's unavoidable with the still happening man flu here. 6 months ago, we saw the much-hyped summit between the British Prime Minister and the EU Commission President, all smiles and promises of a new common understanding. And the goal was ambitious: smooth trade in food, linked electricity and carbon market, and make it easier for young people to live and study abroad via schemes like Erasmus. But now, as the negotiators finally get down to brass tacks, the talks are being dodged by what the chair of the UK Parliament's European Affairs Committee calls proliferating EU demands for UK cash. And the list is growing: money for the agri-food agreement, fees for the Erasmus student scheme, contributions for the new electricity trading agreement, and a massive payment to access the safe rearmament scheme. And just last week, EU member states, showing a unifying front, agreed among themselves that London should be paying into the EU's cohesion funds. The Cohesion Fund is the EU's main tool to reduce economic and social disparities, investing in environmental projects and transport infrastructure in the less prosperous member states like Poland, Portugal, and Greece. And the EU's position is unshakable, and it's entirely logical. You cannot, as a third country, enjoy benefits that put you in a more favorable position than full EU members. Third countries with single market access, like Norway or Switzerland, have always been required to provide budgetary contributions to the Cohesion Fund. This is the principle of European solidarity and shared responsibility. And the UK government may have been prepared to pay for the cost of administration, but they have drawn a hard red line against any general contribution into the EU budget. But this is a fantasy, a political shield built out of straw that is already being blown away by the cold wind of reality. And the reason for the UK's stubborn resistance is pure domestic politics and is, what is this word I'm looking for? It's nauseatingly predictable. Well, we know that the Chancellor already delivered a painful government budget stuffed with tax rises and spending cuts, and they are kind of digging around behind the back of the sofa for spare change here. And the political optics of then forking over billions to the EU would be seized upon by the Brexit hardliners, of course, as a betrayal and a surrender. They scream that the UK is being forced to pay billions for the privilege of once more becoming an obedient Brussels rule taker, despite the fact that the UK negotiated its way into this position and is now attempting to buy back stability. The fear of being attacked by the Farage-led Reform Party or by the hard right wing of their own side is paralyzing the UK's government's ability to act in the nation's best interest. And they are holding up crucial agreements that would ease the economic pain of everyday people, because they are terrified of a headline in a tabloid newspaper. Look at the absurdity of the standoff over the Safe Rearmament Scheme, the EU's initiative to bolster European defences in light of the war in Ukraine. The UK is a critical NATO ally with huge defense capabilities and a shared interest in European security, but the talks are deadlocked on money. Brussels initially wanted a contribution of around 4.5 to 6.5 billion euros. That's a figure that the UK Parliament's European Affairs Committee described as unbelievable, suggesting that some EU members don't even want the UK in that scheme. And recent reports indicate that the EU has now slashed that price tag dramatically, proposing a fee ranging from 1 to 6 billion euros, proportionate to expected UK benefits, and lower reports suggested a lower offer of 2 billion euros. But even the original 6.75 billion euros figure, while massive, is only about 4.5% of the total £150 billion endowment of the SAFE fund. And this is a loan scheme, but the EU's logic is clear. If you want your companies to benefit from the lower borrowing rates and the major procurement contracts, you must contribute a fair share to the kitty. And the UK's counter-offer of a meager 75 million euros is utterly insulting. It's asking to be treated like an EU member for security benefits while paying the price of a peripheral observer. And this is not a sensible negotiation. It's a failure of political courage and an overestimation of the UK's own leverage. In security, defence and trade, the UK is currently the party that needs the fix more urgently. And the deadlines are closing in, and the cost of this political procrastination is borne by businesses and consumers. The UK has set itself the goal of getting the agri-food agreements online by 2027. That's a ridiculous timeline when every day of delay means more paperwork, more cost, and less competitive British exports. And critically, if talks on linking the emissions trading systems are not concluded by the end of the year, British firms will be hit by new EU carbon border taxes from January 1st. And this Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, is essentially a tariff on high carbon goods entering the EU, and it will be another unwelcome tax on British trade, directly hitting UK manufacturing. In both cases, agri-food and carbon taxes, the unresolved question of cash will be the deciding factor, and the EU has made its position clear. They know the UK negotiating style involves a bit of back and forth and drama, but they also know the outcome. The UK must pay for the benefits it seeks, whether for students, electricity or defence. The UK government can delay, prevaricate and pretend that the EU will cave on this core principle. But they won't. And the delay is costing the UK economy more in lost trade and administrative friction than any of the payments they are squabbling over. It's time for the political class to stop fighting the phantom of the past and accept the reality for once. Prosperity and stability come with a price, and that price is being written by Brussels. And if you want to know something more, the next video is right here in the end screen.